Welcome, time travelers. SolaTales here, and tonight's adventure takes us straight into the heart of ancient Constantinople, where two humble monks carry walking sticks that hold the secret to an empire's future. So, dim the lights, sit back, and relax. The morning sun rises gently over the great city of Constantinople, its golden rays filtering through the tall windows of a modest monastery guest house near the city's peaceful edge. Brother Marcus awakens slowly, as is his way, listening first to the soft sounds of the awakening day. Somewhere in the distance, church bells chime the hour with their familiar bronze voices. The sound drifts across red tiled roofs and through narrow streets, where merchants are just beginning to arrange their wares for another day of gentle commerce. In the narrow bed beside him, Brother Theodore stirs quietly, his weathered hands reaching first for the wooden prayer beads that rest always beside his pillow. These two monks, their faces lined with the wisdom of many journeys and countless seasons, have shared the road for more years than either can easily count. Their friendship has been forged in the patient rhythms of travel, in shared meals of simple bread and cheese, in the quiet companionship that comes to those who have walked many miles together under the same vast sky. Brother Marcus rises first, his joints protesting softly, as they do each morning now that his hair has turned the color of winter clouds. He moves to the small washstand, where a clay pitcher holds cool water for the morning's ablutions. The water is sweet and clear, drawn from the monastery's ancient well, and it feels refreshing against his weathered skin. As he washes his face and hands with the rough linen cloth, he gazes out the small window at the awakening city below. Constantinople spreads before him like a tapestry woven from gold and shadow. The great dome of Hagia Sophia catches the early light, gleaming like a jewel set in stone. Smoke rises gently from countless hearths where families are preparing their morning meals. The scent of baking bread drifts on the warm air, mingling with the salt tang from the nearby sea and the green fragrance of gardens hidden behind high walls. Brother Theodore joins his companion at the window, and together they observe the morning ritual of the city's awakening. Cartwheels rumble softly on cobblestones as farmers bring their produce to market. A church bell chimes somewhere to the east, answered by another to the west, creating a gentle conversation across the rooftops. Children's voices can be heard, bright and clear, as they play in courtyards before the day's duties claim their attention. The two monks dress slowly in their simple brown robes, each movement deliberate and unhurried. They have learned, through years of travel, that the morning sets the rhythm for the entire day. Rush the dawn, and the day becomes a series of hurried moments. Greet the morning with patience, and the hours that follow flow like a gentle stream. Their few possessions are already packed in worn leather satchels. A change of clothes, their prayer books bound in cracked leather, a small pouch of coins for the journey, and dried fruits wrapped in clean linen cloth. Everything they need for their long journey home to distant lands fits easily into these simple bundles. But there are two items that rest beside their beds with particular care. Two walking sticks, carved from rich, dark wood and polished smooth by countless hands. Brother Marcus lifts his walking stick, feeling its familiar weight. The wood is warm to the touch, as if it remembers all the miles it has traveled, all the paths it has helped navigate. The carving is simple but elegant. Vine leaves spiral around the shaft, and the handle is worn to a perfect smoothness that fits his palm like an old friend. To any observer, it appears to be nothing more than a traveler's aid. a practical tool for managing rough roads and steep paths. Brother Theodore's walking stick bears similar marks of age and use. The wood gleams with the patina that comes only from years of faithful service. His fingers trace the carved patterns near the handle. Simple crosses interwoven with olive branches, symbols of peace and faith that have guided their order for generations. The weight of the stick is perfectly balanced, and it rests against his shoulder with the ease of long familiarity. What no casual observer would notice, what even the most careful examination might miss, is that these walking sticks hold within their hollowed chambers a secret more precious than gold, more valuable than the finest gems that adorn the crowns of emperors. Nestled carefully within hidden cavities, cushioned by soft moss and protected by the blessed wood, rest small silken cocoons, the tiny homes of creatures whose work will change the fate of empires. The monastery's breakfast bell chimes softly, calling guests and residents alike to break their fast. Brother Marcus and Brother Theodore make their way down the worn stone steps, their walking sticks tapping gently against each stone. The sound echoes softly in the narrow stairwell, a rhythm that speaks of countless travelers who have descended these same steps over the many seasons since the monastery was built. In the refectory, they take their places at a long wooden table, darkened by age and polished by the countless hands that have rested upon it. The morning meal is simple but nourishing. Warm bread, still fragrant from the ovens, pale butter churned from the monastery's own cows, honey the color of amber that flows like liquid sunshine from the pitcher, and fresh milk that carries the sweetness of green pastures. Brother Marcus tears his bread slowly, savoring the texture between his teeth. The crust yields with a soft crackle, revealing the pale, tender interior that soaks up the golden honey like a sponge drinks water. The butter melts on the warm bread, creating rivulets of rich cream that catch the morning light streaming through the tall windows. Around them, other travelers prepare for their own journeys. A merchant from the eastern provinces speaks quietly with his servants about the roads ahead. A family returning to their mountain village gathers their children close, reminding them of the courtesies expected when traveling. The conversations flow in several languages: Greek and Latin, Armenian and Syriac, creating a gentle symphony of human voices that has been the morning music of this place for countless generations. As they eat, Brother Theodore allows his gaze to wander to the small garden visible through an arched doorway. Herbs grow in neat rows: rosemary and thyme, basil and mint, tended by the monastery brothers with the same careful attention their predecessors have given for hundreds of years. A small fountain plays in the center of the garden, its water catching the morning light and casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. The sound of falling water adds its voice to the peaceful morning symphony. The time comes to depart, as it always does. Brother Marcus and Brother Theodore gather their satchels and take up their walking sticks with the reverent care these precious tools deserve. They receive the blessing of the monastery's abbot, a kind man whose eyes hold the peace that comes from a life spent in prayer and service. His words of safe journey and divine protection follow them as they walk through the monastery gates and into the awakening city. Constantinople in the early morning is a marvel to behold. The streets flow with the gentle energy of a city coming to life. Shopkeepers lift wooden shutters and arrange their wares with the practiced ease of those who have done this same dance every morning for years. The scent of bread baking and oil heating for the day's cooking drifts from dozens of kitchens. Children dart between the legs of adults, their laughter bright as silver bells in the clear morning air. The two monks walk slowly through streets they have come to know well during their months in this great city. Their path takes them through the district where the silk merchants have their workshops and warehouses. Here, even in these early hours, the gentle sounds of industry can be heard, the rhythmic clicking of looms, the soft voices of artisans calling to one another across courtyards, the whisper of silk threads being drawn from their cocoons in workshops hidden behind wooden doors. As they walk, Brother Marcus recalls the first time he saw silk being made. It was in a workshop much like those they pass now, where the master craftsman had allowed them to observe the ancient process. The memory unfolds in his mind like a silk thread being drawn from its cocoon, slowly, carefully, with reverent attention to each detail. The cocoons had been placed in baskets of warm water, heated just to the perfect temperature by craftsmen whose knowledge had been passed down through generations as precious as gold. Steam rose gently from the water, carrying with it a scent that was both earthy and clean, like rain on summer stones. The silk worker's hands moved with the patience of ages as she found the beginning of each thread, so fine it was almost invisible, so strong it could support the weight of the world's dreams. Brother Theodore remembers watching those same hands draw the silk from the cocoons, yards and yards of thread so fine it seemed spun from moonbeams themselves. The thread wound onto wooden reels with a soft whisper, like gentle wind through grass. The silk worker had explained how each cocoon could yield nearly a mile of thread, how the little creatures spun their homes with mathematical precision that no human hand could match, how the process had remained unchanged since the first person discovered this miraculous transformation in the misty dawn of human memory. In another workshop, they had watched weavers at their looms, their shuttles flying back and forth with the rhythm of breathing, creating patterns that seemed to capture sunlight and hold it prisoner in silk. The cloth that emerged from these looms flowed like water, caught light like captured stars, and felt to the touch like nothing else in the created world. When held up to the light, the finest silk revealed its secrets, the perfect regularity of the weave, the way each thread caught and reflected light, the subtle variations in color that spoke of the miraculous creatures who had created the original thread. The monks had learned that the knowledge of silk making was guarded more carefully than the gates of paradise. For countless generations, this wisdom had been kept within certain lands, passed down from master to apprentice like a sacred flame that must never be allowed to die. The penalties for sharing these secrets with outsiders were severe beyond imagining, for silk was more valuable than gold, more precious than pearls, more sought after than the rarest spices or the finest wines. Yet here they walked, two humble monks with simple walking sticks, carrying within those carved wooden chambers the secret that empires had killed for and died to protect. The tiny cocoons, nested safely within the hollowed wood, were more than mere objects. They were possibilities made manifest, the seeds of transformation that would allow their homeland to join the ancient brotherhood of silk makers. As they move through the silk district, the morning air carries the particular sense of the trade, the sweet, clean smell of mulberry leaves, the earthy fragrance of cocoons in warm water, the subtle perfume of finished silk cloth. These scents mingle with the smoke from cooking fires and the salt tang of the nearby sea, creating an olfactory tapestry as complex and beautiful as the finest silk itself. Brother Marcus pauses for a moment outside a workshop where he can hear the gentle clicking of a loom. Through a partially open door, he glimpses a weaver at work, her hands moving in the ancient dance of warp and weft. The silk she works gleams like captured sunlight, shifting from gold to green to deepest blue as the threads catch and release the light. Her movements have the fluid grace that comes only from years of practice, each gesture economical and precise, part of a rhythm that connects her to every weaver who has ever sat at a loom since humans first learned to capture beauty in thread. The morning grows warmer as they walk, and the city becomes more alive around them. Merchants call their wares in voices that carry the music of a dozen different lands. The clip-clop of horses' hooves on cobblestones creates a percussion beneath the symphony of human voices. Somewhere, a fountain plays, its water catching the light and casting rainbows on nearby walls. They pass a small market where vendors are arranging their goods for the day's trade. Fruits and vegetables create pyramids of color. Red apples that gleam like jewels, purple grapes heavy with sweetness, green melons that promise cool refreshment against the day's heat. The scent of ripe fruit mingles with the fragrances of fresh herbs and the sharp, clean smell of good olive oil displayed in clay amphora. A bread seller's stall fills the air with the warm, yeasty fragrance of loaves fresh from the oven. The bread is shaped into intricate braids and rounds, some scattered with seeds that gleam like tiny pearls, others brushed with egg that gives them the sheen of golden silk. The baker, his hands white with flour and his face red from the heat of his ovens, arranges his wares with the pride of an artist displaying his finest works. As they walk deeper into the silk district, Brother Theodore reflects on the long journey that has brought them to this moment. Months of travel through lands where silk was as common as wool in their homeland. Weeks of patient observation, watching and learning the mysteries that had been guarded for so many generations. Days of careful planning, determining how to carry their precious cargo safely across the many miles that lay between this great city and their distant home. The walking sticks they carry represent not just clever craftsmanship, but months of careful preparation. The wood had been selected with infinite care, dense enough to protect their precious cargo, yet light enough to carry across countless miles. The carving had been done by a master craftsman who understood the need for hidden chambers that would not betray their presence to even the most suspicious observer. The hollow spaces within had been lined with the softest materials, moss from sacred groves, cotton of the finest quality, silk fabric that would cushion the cocoons like clouds cradling stars. Most importantly, the cocoons themselves had been selected with the wisdom of ages. Not just any would do. They needed specimens that were perfect in their construction, that contained the living potential that would allow their species to flourish in new soil under different skies. Each cocoon represented the culmination of an ancient process, from the careful tending of mulberry trees, whose leaves provided the only acceptable food, through the patient nurturing of the silkworms themselves, to the miraculous transformation that created these small chambers of possibility. Brother Marcus shifts his walking stick slightly, feeling its familiar weight. Inside, he knows The cocoons rest in their cushioned chambers, waiting for the moment when they will be released to begin their work in new lands. The responsibility he carries seems almost too great for one humble monk to bear. Yet he also feels the deep peace that comes from knowing he serves a purpose larger than himself. The morning sun climbs higher, painting the city in shades of gold and amber. The shadows shorten and the air grows warmer, carrying new scents from kitchens where the midday meal is beginning its slow preparation. Somewhere, a church bell chimes the hour, its bronze voice echoing off stone walls and red-tiled roofs. As they walk through streets that grow familiar through repetition, the two monks begin to encounter others preparing for journeys of their own. A caravan is forming near the city gates. Merchants and their guards pack animals loaded with goods bound for distant markets. Travelers seeking the safety that comes from numbers on the long roads ahead. The air fills with the sounds of preparation, leather creaking as loads are secured, animals stamping and snorting, voices calling instructions in the polyglot languages of commerce. The sight of the caravan stirs something in Brother Marcus's heart. Not excitement, for that would disturb the peace he cultivates, but a gentle anticipation of the road ahead. There is something in the human soul that calls to the horizon, something that finds deep satisfaction in the rhythm of walking, in the slow unfolding of landscape, in the thousand small discoveries that come to those who travel with eyes open and hearts ready to receive whatever gifts the journey might offer. But today they will not join this caravan. Their path lies in a different direction, and their cargo requires a more discreet method of transport. They continue their slow progress through the city, observing the morning rituals that have played out in this place for countless generations. In a small square, they pause beside a fountain whose water dances in the morning light. The fountain is old, carved from white marble that has weathered to the color of pale honey. Water flows from the mouths of carved fish, creating music that has accompanied the conversations and contemplations of travelers for centuries, beyond counting. Brother Theodore cups his hands and drinks deeply, tasting the sweetness of water that has traveled underground rivers to reach this place of rest and renewal. Around the fountain, merchants are beginning to arrange their wares for the day's trade. Silk scarves flutter like captured rainbows in the gentle morning breeze. Carpets woven with patterns that tell stories of ancient heroes and mythical beasts create pools of color on the white stones. Spices fill the air with fragrances that speak of distant lands and exotic gardens. Cinnamon like liquid warmth, cardamom sharp and sweet, saffron precious as gold dust. A young woman tends a stall where silk ribbons are displayed like a garden of impossible flowers. Each ribbon catches the light differently, some gleaming like water, others glowing like flame, still others shifting through colors that have no names, but somehow capture the essence of dawn, of twilight, of the deep mysteries that lie between sleeping and waking. She arranges them with the care of a gardener tending prize roses, understanding that beauty requires both nature's gifts and human devotion to reach its full flowering. Brother Marcus watches her work and thinks of the long chain of knowledge and skill that connects her to the tiny cocoons resting within his walking stick. From the silkworm spinning its miraculous thread to the reeling and weaving and dyeing that transforms raw silk into these ribbons that flutter like prayer flags in the morning breeze. Each step requires wisdom passed down through generations of patient craftspeople. the morning grows warmer, and the shadows cast by buildings and awnings shift as the sun climbs higher in the clear sky. The two monks decide to seek shelter in a small garden they have discovered during their explorations of the city. It is tucked away behind high walls, accessible through an arched gateway that seems to invite those who walk slowly enough to notice its quiet welcome. The garden is a place of peace amid the gentle bustle of the city. Ancient olive trees provide dappled shade, their gnarled branches speaking of centuries weathered with patient grace. A small stream runs along one side, its water clear and cool, fed by springs that rise somewhere in the hills beyond the city walls. The water moves with the unhurried persistence that characterizes all the most important movements in the world, like the seasons, like the growing of trees, like the patient accumulation of wisdom in human hearts. They settle on a stone bench, worn smooth by countless visitors who have sought this same peaceful refuge. Brother Theodore places his walking stick carefully beside the bench, one hand resting on its worn wood, as if drawing comfort from the touch. Around them, the garden holds its morning silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the full silence of a world holding its breath in appreciation of its own beauty. Small birds move through the olive branches, their movements quick and purposeful as they search for insects or berries. Occasionally, one pauses to sing, its voice clear and sweet in the still air. These songs seem to come from the very heart of morning itself, expressions of the joy that flows through all creation when the world is new with dawn. A butterfly dances among the flowers that bloom along the garden's borders. Its wings catch the filtered sunlight, revealing patterns of orange and black and gold that seem painted by an artist who understands that beauty needs no purpose beyond itself. The butterfly's flight follows no path that human logic could predict, yet every movement is perfect, every pause precisely timed to draw nectar from flowers that seem to have bloomed for this exact moment. Watching the butterfly, Brother Marcus thinks again of the silkworms, those other creatures whose work with thread creates beauty beyond human imagination. There is something deeply satisfying about this connection between all the small creatures who labor to create beauty in the world. The silkworms spinning their cocoons, the bees gathering nectar and pollen, the spiders weaving webs that catch dewdrops like pearls on invisible thread. The morning air carries the scent of jasmine blooming somewhere beyond the garden walls. The fragrance is subtle but penetrating, adding its voice to the complex perfume created by olive leaves and stream water and the thousand growing things that make this small space a refuge from the world's urgencies. Brother Theodore breathes deeply, storing this scent in memory, alongside all the other fragrances that have marked their journey: the incense of distant temples, the spice-laden air of foreign markets, the salt tang of seas crossed under friendly stars. As they rest in the garden's peace, the morning light shifts and changes around them. Shadows move across the stone paths like slow dancers, following the ancient choreography that connects earth to sun to the turning of seasons. Somewhere in the distance, church bells chime the progression of hours, their bronze voices calling the faithful to prayer and marking the rhythm by which human communities measure their days. A small lizard emerges from beneath a sun-warmed stone and pauses in a patch of light, its scales gleaming like tiny emeralds. It remains motionless for long minutes, absorbing warmth with the patience that characterizes all creatures who live by rhythms older than human urgency. Eventually, it disappears again, leaving only the memory of its perfect stillness as a gift for those who were present enough to receive it. The sound of the stream provides a gentle accompaniment to their rest. Water moves over stones worn smooth by its passage, creating music that needs no human interpretation to be perfect. Each small cascade and eddy adds its voice to a song that has been playing since the springs first found their path to the sea. This is the sound that underlies all other sounds, the rhythm that connects raindrop to river, to ocean to cloud to rain again, in the endless cycling that makes all life possible. Brother Marcus allows his eyes to drift closed, not sleeping, but simply resting in the garden's peace. Behind his eyelids, images flow like silk scarves in a gentle breeze. The workshops they have visited, the faces of craftspeople sharing their ancient knowledge, the patterns of finished silk that capture light like nets woven from solidified moonbeams. All of these memories are threads in a tapestry that includes this moment, this garden, this peaceful interlude before the journey home begins. The morning grows later, and the sounds from beyond the garden walls suggest that the city has fully awakened to its daily rhythm. Voices call greetings across narrow streets. Cartwheels rumble over cobblestones. Somewhere, a craftsman's hammer rings against metal in the steady rhythm that speaks of work begun early and continued with the patience that creates lasting beauty. Brother Theodore opens his eyes and looks at his companion. Without words, they both understand that the time has come to continue their journey towards departure. They rise slowly, gathering their simple belongings and taking up their walking sticks with the reverent care these precious tools deserve. As they prepare to leave the garden, Brother Marcus pauses for one last look at the butterfly, now resting on a flower with wings spread to catch the warming sun. There is something in this image that seems to bless their mission, the idea that beauty, once discovered, seeks to spread itself across all the places where it can take root and flourish. They walk from the garden through streets that grow busier as the morning progresses toward midday. The air fills with the sense of cooking food and the sounds of commerce conducted in the patient manner of those who understand that the best transactions are those that leave all parties satisfied. Children play games that involve much running and laughter, their voices bright as wind chimes in the clear air. Near the city's edge, they find the caravanserai, where they will spend their final night before beginning the long journey home. It is a substantial building designed to accommodate travelers and their animals in safety and comfort. The walls are thick stone that will keep the interior cool during the heat of the day and warm during the chill of night. Arched doorways lead to courtyards where pack animals can rest and feed, where travelers can gather around wells of sweet water to share stories and information about the roads ahead. The keeper of the caravanserai is a man whose face shows the weathering that comes from a lifetime of service to travelers. His eyes hold the particular kindness that develops in those who understand that every person who arrives at their door carries stories of distance traveled and hopes for safe arrival at destinations still far away. He welcomes Brother Marcus and Brother Theodore with the courtesy that marks the best of his profession, offering them a small chamber that will provide privacy and rest. The chamber is simple but clean, with two narrow beds covered in woven blankets that speak of skilled hands and good wool. A small table holds a pitcher of cool water and a basin for washing. The single window looks out over the caravanserai's main courtyard, where they can observe the gathering of those who will share the roads in the days ahead. They place their walking sticks with particular care against the wall near their beds, where they will remain within easy reach throughout the night. The weight of responsibility they carry seems to grow heavier as the moment of departure approaches. Yet this weight is balanced by a deep sense of purpose that makes each step meaningful beyond the mere covering of distance. As evening begins to gather around the edges of the day, the caravanserai fills with the gentle sounds of travelers preparing for rest. Somewhere, a minstrel plays a stringed instrument, his melody floating across the courtyard like silk thread weaving through the air. The tune is one that seems familiar, even to those hearing it for the first time, built on intervals that speak to something deep in the human heart, rhythms that echo the pace of walking, the beat of horses' hooves, the eternal human movement toward horizons that promise home. Brother Theodore sits beside the window, watching the activity in the courtyard below. A merchant examines his pack animals, running experienced hands down their legs to check for heat or swelling that might signal the need for rest before the journey continues. A family gathers around a small fire, sharing their evening meal with the quiet contentment that comes from knowing they will sleep safely tonight under a solid roof. The scents of evening cooking drift through the open window. Bread baking in outdoor ovens, vegetables stewing with herbs that fill the air with the promise of nourishment, meat roasting over coals that glow like captured stars in the gathering dusk. These are the scents of human comfort, of communities forming even temporarily around the basic needs that connect all people, regardless of the languages they speak or the lands they call home. A woman tends a small loom in a corner of the courtyard, a shuttle moving back and forth in the rhythm that has accompanied human settlements since the first person discovered that threads could be woven into something stronger and more beautiful than their individual components. The cloth emerging under her hands is simple but well made, destined perhaps to become clothing for her children or blankets for cold nights on the road ahead. Brother Marcus joins his companion at the window, and together they watch the peaceful settling of the caravanserai into evening rhythms. The light fades gradually from gold to amber, to the deep blue that precedes the appearance of stars. Lamps begin to flicker in windows and doorways, small flames that push back the darkness and create pools of warm light where human stories can unfold in safety. Somewhere in the distance, church bells chime the evening hour, their bronze voices calling the faithful to prayers of gratitude for the day's journey safely completed and hope for protection through the night's rest. The sound echoes off stone walls and fades into the gathering darkness, leaving behind the sense of time marked and moments blessed by human voices, raised in ancient words of petition and praise. As full darkness settles over the caravanserai, the two monks prepare for sleep with the same careful attention they bring to all their daily rituals. They wash their hands and faces in the cool water from the pitcher, feeling the day's dust and the weight of the miles they have walked dissolve in the simple pleasure of cleanliness. The water is refreshing against their skin, carrying with it the promise of renewal that comes with each day's end and each night's rest. They fold their simple garments with care, laying them across the wooden chest that stands at the foot of each bed. Their walking sticks rest against the wall, within easy reach, but secure in their positions. In the darkness, no observer could guess the precious cargo these carved wooden tools conceal. The living potential that sleeps within hollow chambers lined with silk and moss. Brother Marcus settles onto his narrow bed, feeling the satisfying tiredness that comes from a day spent in purposeful activity. The blanket is rough but warm, woven from wool that carries the scent of mountain pastures and the skilled hands that transformed fleece into cloth. Outside, the sounds of the caravanserai gradually quiet as travelers settle into sleep. Voices drop to whispers, footsteps become softer. The general bustle of evening preparation gives way to the peaceful breathing of a community at rest. Through the open window comes the night air, cool and sweet, with the sense of growing things and distant water. Stars appear one by one in the darkening sky, each point of light taking its place in patterns that have guided travelers since humans first looked up and wondered about the paths that lead beyond the horizon. These same stars have watched over countless caravans, countless journeys undertaken in hope and completed in satisfaction. Countless nights when weary travelers found rest and safety under foreign skies that gradually became familiar through repetition. Brother Theodore lies quietly on his bed, listening to the gentle sounds of night settling over the caravanserai. Somewhere, a nightbird calls, its voice clear and sweet in the darkness. Another answers from a different direction, creating a conversation that spans the night air like an invisible thread connecting distant perches. The sound is peaceful and reassuring, speaking of the natural rhythms that continue regardless of human plans and purposes. The weight of their walking sticks seems to press against his consciousness like a gentle hand, reminding him of the trust he carries. Tomorrow will begin the long journey home, carrying with them the secret that will transform their homeland's relationship with beauty itself. The tiny cocoons rest secure in their hidden chambers, waiting for the moment when they will be released to begin their miraculous work in new soil under different skies. As sleep begins to gather around the edges of his awareness, like evening mist rising from warm earth, Brother Theodore reflects on the strange paths that have led to this moment, the patient years of study that prepared him for distant travel, the months of careful observation in workshops where silk was created through processes guarded more carefully than royal treasures, the delicate negotiations that led to their current possession of these precious seeds of transformation. Most miraculous of all is the simple fact that knowledge, once discovered, seeks to spread itself across all the places where it can take root and flourish. Like seeds carried by wind or water to distant shores where they will sprout and grow into forests, the secret of silk making carries within itself the irrepressible desire to share its gifts with all who can appreciate and preserve its beauty. Brother Marcus drifts towards sleep, with images of the day flowing through his mind like silk scarves in a gentle breeze. The morning light filtering through monastery windows. The careful weight of walking sticks carved to hold secrets more precious than gold. The butterfly dancing among flowers in the peaceful garden. The faces of craftspeople whose hands carried the accumulated wisdom of countless generations. All of these images weave themselves together into a tapestry that includes this moment, this rest, this peaceful pause before the journey continues. Sleep comes gradually, like dusk settling over a familiar landscape, bringing with it the deep satisfaction of a day well lived and the quiet anticipation of possibilities yet to unfold. And so the two monks settle into the rhythm of rest, that has welcomed travelers at caravanserai throughout the ages, their precious cargo secure, their mission clear, their hearts at peace, with the knowledge that they serve purposes larger than themselves. Outside, the stars keep their ancient watch, the same stars that have guided silk routes and spice roads since humans first discovered that the most important journeys are those undertaken not for conquest or gold, but for the patient spreading of beauty and knowledge across all the places where they can take root and flourish. The night air carries the scent of jasmine and distant water, the sound of sleeping animals, and the whispered prayers of travelers grateful for safe passage through another day. In the gentle darkness of the caravanserai, surrounded by the peaceful breathing of a community at rest, Brother Marcus and Brother Theodore sleep the deep sleep of those who carry important work in their hands and trust in their hearts. Tomorrow will bring new roads, new challenges, new opportunities to serve the ancient purposes that connect all human journeys across the vast tapestry of time and distance. But tonight, all is peace, all is rest, all is the quiet satisfaction of those who know that their small efforts are part of something infinitely larger than themselves. And in their walking sticks, the silk cocoons rest secure and patient, waiting for their moment to transform the world with thread spun from dreams and woven into beauty that will last forever, in the gentle way of all things that serve love rather than mere ambition, in the patient rhythm of seeds planted in hope and tended with devotion until they bloom into gifts that bless all who encounter their flowering. The stars continue their ancient watch, the night air continues its gentle circulation, and all who sleep within the caravanserai's protective walls rest secure in the knowledge that morning will bring renewed strength for whatever journeys await, in the timeless dance of departure and arrival that has marked human civilization since the first traveler looked toward the horizon and decided to discover what lay beyond the edge of the familiar world.